How's it going, everybody? This is Mike again from Big Fat Ghost Vinyl. I'm here with another album review, of course. I know I've put out a bunch lately, but I got so many good vinyls out. I'm trying to review them all. So, of course, owing to my MO of the last few, if you haven't expected, the next album I have is a debut, and this one, let me tell you, is a absolute masterpiece. I won't even beat around the bush here. We're talking about Days of Future Past by the Moody Blues here. Obviously, if you watch my videos, you can probably tell that I'm a pretty big prog head. A lot of people would say that Court of the Crimson King, 1969, is the foremost, earliest example of a progressive rock album. That may be true in a certain sense. I don't know what's going on with my lighting, but this album, 1967, November in fact, has all the tenets and all of the elements of an incredible concept album, an incredible progressive rock album, and it is easily one of the best albums of all time, if you ask me. Easily one of the best albums of the 60s. And the crazy thing about it for me is the Moody Blues. This might not even be my favorite Moody Blues album. I think it probably is their best, but the three behind me, Children's, and Threshold of a Dream, and The Lost Chord to a little bit of a lesser degree, I actually almost prefer all three of those over this. But there are certain parts of this album that I just know are infallible, and I would have to probably just rank it above those. And I know that sounds counterproductive or counterintuitive, but if you listen to this album, you know why. Let's just get started. I mean, it's certified platinum, over 1 million sales. It's huge. I mean, Moody Blues are one of those bands that I feel aren't as well known to my generation. But if you talk to anyone from that era, I mean, they were almost as big as the Beatles in the 60s. They were maybe a one step below, the Beatles, the Who, and the Stones. And honestly, maybe besides the Beatles, I'm partial to the Moody Blues. 5 or 6 to 7. At least probably about 7 great albums. And this isn't their first album, but it's their first album. Like this is a great one. So let's get on to a couple of notes. Personnel-wise, we have Mike Pinder on keyboards and Mellotron. I think at this point in time, he was almost kind of the leader of the band, so I started with him. But of course, if you're a Moody's Blues fan, you know that I think the core of this band were actually the newcomers around this time, and that is Justin Hayward on guitars and vocal, and John Lodge on bass and vocals. Those two are, I mean, incredible harmonies, incredible vocals, incredible guitar work, everything. I mean, this band is awesome. We also got Ray Thomas on flute and I believe vocals, and then we have Graham Edge on percussion. But that's just scratching the surface, actually, with this particular album, because if you notice right here at the top, incredible cover, by the way. I'll give you a minute just to look at it. It's an incredible album cover. Right here at the top, right here, we've got the London Festival Orchestra, of course, conducted by Peter Knight. And that's kind of the shtick of with this album. It's basically a bunch of really good Baroque pop tunes sandwiched and peppered with orchestral arrangements. It's phenomenal. I mean, it really, I mean, it's great. So let's get to it. Let's get with the track listing. Of course, that being with the nature of the album being, kind of sporadic with the orchestral arrangements. It's kind of hard and confusing with the track titles, but just bear with me here. We start with The Day Begins, and this is an instrumental tune. Of course, with the orchestra, a great sweeping orchestra, just a beautiful arrangement. And then we have some spoken word by, I believe, Mike Pinder, which is great. You know, this album's a masterpiece. I believe it is the first masterpiece I've reviewed on this channel. I've done ELP debut, Alan Parsons debut, and what was the other one? Shades of Deep Purple. None of those are masterpieces. If you ask me, I think this album is a masterpiece. It has that X factor, and as you'll come to, if you watch my videos and notice my proclivities, the X factor is what makes a masterpiece. Well, of course, it has to be firing on all cylinders besides that. But even with this album, I mean, it has a weak track, and I'll get to it. But it doesn't take away from it from me. So it's, in my opinion, and I think many others, this is a definite masterpiece. The cover is by David Ansley, by the way. I just wanted to mention that because it is an incredible cover. So after we have The Day Begins, an awesome orchestral arrangement, we filter into Dawn. Maybe you're getting already kind of the gist of the album. Days of Future Past. No Patrick Stewart or Hugh Jackman here. It might be cooler, honestly, though. That's P-A-S-T. This is P-A-S-S-E-D. You know, a little bit of confusion there, maybe, but you know, the more you know. My point being, the shtick, the concept of this album. I've said shtick 3 times now. Wow. It is the progression of a day. And I think this album's a trip. I'm just going to come out and say it. I was going to save it for the end, but I think the way this album is structured, it is a acid trip. It is a psychedelic trip, and that's why I think it's a masterpiece, is because it parallels that dynamic, and it basically is pound for pound, hits those notes. And I'll get to that more without spoiling too much here. So we get to Dawn. Somber melody. Awesome melody and singing by Hayward, I believe. Very psychedelic in nature. Just an awesome first song. You know, you get the orchestra coming in, and then you get the taste of the Moody Blues and the actual guys in the band around there. So, and then we get to the morning, okay? And the morning is just about childhood innocence, I think. You know, a lot of the themes in Moody Blues songs are very much about just wonder and wanderlust and just happiness. And it's one of those bands that's just infallible, if you ask me. I mean, you have bands like Sabbath and you know, Uriah Heep, or even to a lesser degree like Zeppelin or the Stones, where there's a lot of, you know, there's darkness in the music. But I think with Moody Blues, it's always very, very chipper in a good way. I mean, some people might think it's a little, you know, campy, but you know, I think it's just bad taste, if you ask me. I mean, this album is so awesome. So we have the morning, and this is just caked with beautiful melodies and chords. The harmonies here are awesome. Chipper orchestral arrangement, and then there's some flute here also by Ray Thomas, which works well. Gotta love the flute. And then we have Lunch Break. And here we kind of touch on what I was saying about the psychedelic, LSD-tinged nature of this album. This song is literally called Peak Hour. It's called Peak Hour. And if you were to, say, partake in substance abuse, we'll say abuse, maybe it's a heavy term, around 6 a.m., maybe 8 a.m., whenever you wake up, lunch break 11, 12, peak hour. I'll let you do the math there and figure that out for you. And the thing about it is this song is just awesome. It's just an awesome rocker. It's right up there with I'm Just a Singer in a Rock and Roll Band from Seventh Sojourn. It may be better. I think it fits on this album better. But the problem with that song is such a good dynamic to the rest of that album. That's one of their best albums too. But with here, it's just a great energy. Like it's just a great peak hour, peak for this album. It's kind of like a surfer-esque tune. Later in the song, there's an awesome like surfer-esque solo by Hayward, and I really enjoy it. Definitely a great rocker for the band. That's the end of side one, and awesome, you know. But I mean, I think for a lot of people, side one is getting there, right? But side two is where it kind of culminates and it becomes the masterpiece I'm talking about. And of course, it starts with the afternoon, or just Tuesday afternoon. And this is my favorite song. I think this is the best song on the album. It's just, I don't know what the words to describe it are. Music, it's hard to describe, right, all the time. But when with a song like this, especially when you listen to it on a Tuesday on accident, it's happened to me. It just gives you such a good feeling of euphoria. It's just such an awesome, chipper, like mood lifting song. Like this album is just a mood lifter, especially, and I think Tuesday Afternoon is the epitome of that on this album. So I think a theme of this song in particular is seeing the beauty of the mundaneness. So maybe if we're going to the peak question of this album being a trip, which it is. I mean, I'm just gonna go and ahead and say that. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, it was the height of psychedelia. It's 1967. What is seeing the beauty of the mundane? I mean, what do you do after you're peaking? What do? You walk around and you look at things and realize there's beauty in everything, right? So I feel like that song is just the best song on the album for that reason. And I mean, really, it's just the composition is awesome. Great piano work by Pinder and awesome vocals by Justin Hayward here. So there's Tuesday Afternoon. A lot of people are going to say the last song is the best, but maybe. But now we've passed the afternoon and it is time for evening. And this is the song. I think we have some orchestral compositions kind of, gluing these Moody blues pieces together, right? So, I mean, it's basically like song, composition, or arrangement, song, and that's why this album, it works so well. I mean, that was kind of unheard of, I feel, at that point in time. I mean, you gotta think this is 67. Sergeant Pepper came out in the same year. And I think, frankly, this album is just as influential and important in terms of creating a concept album, but it gets probably maybe half of the attention and notoriety, maybe more. I mean, it's definitely a huge album. I'm not saying it's that, but if you're gonna ask me what's the better album, it's just this, no question, hands down. It's this album. There are better Beatles albums than this, but I think Sgt. Pepper's is pretty overrated. It's good. It's overrated. So we have Evening, and this is where I say this is probably a weaker tune. It's still great, and it has this Indian-esque tinged drum sound and melody. it's done well, but it feels like it's just too on the nose. And you hate to say it, but it's just kind of how I feel about it. But later on, 2 albums later, actually three, Children's, Sun is Still Shining, I believe. They do that Indian tinged sound much better, much better. And I've always noticed that. And I appreciate that in the band, that they kind of went back and tried it again. I think they did it much better on that album. So, 69. So that's still in the 60s. That's how crazy the Moody Blues were, guys. I mean, this band put out 4 crazy good records before 1970 even hit. I mean, they're crazy. They're crazy. And Evening, yeah. I mean, like I said, I mean, it works. It's not bad, but I think every other song is better. And then we have Twilight Time. This song rocks. This is a more rocking song. Great harmonies. It's kind of spooky and foreboding. Kind of, it elicits that feeling of night, like it should, right? Just awesome in that sense, for sure. Great ambience created here. And then, of course, to finish it all off, we have the perennial Nights in White Satin. Now, it's beautiful. I mean, it's just a beautiful song. I mean, if you've never heard it, you may have heard it. Just the melody alone, like Hayward's singing. It's a timeless hit for the band. It's probably their biggest song. It's phenomenal. Like, I've never been in a relationship, but having that song be, a love song sharing between someone, you could do a lot worse than Nights in White Satin. But is it the best song on the album? Honestly, a lot of people would say it is. I mean, it might be, but if you ask me, I'm gonna have to go with Tuesday Afternoon. So yeah, that's the track listing. Basically, to sum it up, I mean, this really is a masterpiece, and I think the reason is, I think, one, the concept of it being kind of a day. A lot of people just say on surface level it's just a day, going through a day, but I think it's a day where you're tripping on a psychedelic substance and they're chronicling how that person feels from hour to hour. That's how I see it. But beyond that, it's really how this album molds and blends the orchestral arrangements with the Baroque pop brilliance of Pinder and the gang, if I might say so. I mean, it's just done so well for 1967 that it's almost unbelievable. Because the 3 albums I have behind me, a lot of people are gonna say they're not as good, but I think they're on par or better. Are they more groundbreaking? Are they masterpieces? No. That's the thing it's hard with a band like the Moody Blues, where it's like, this is, when you listen to this, it's like you get that vibe. This is the X factor I'm talking about. You get that vibe that it's really just a masterpiece, because it's that unsaid thing. Whereas an album like Threshold of a Dream, just for example, has a song like Lazy Day. I know I'm calling shots at that song. It's an inanimate song. It doesn't have feelings. But that song, I think, is just kind of a weak song. It takes away from the album. But that album also has The Voyage, which is incredible. Do I like The Voyage more than anything on this album? Maybe. Honestly, I'm a prog head, so go figure. This is the first masterpiece I've reviewed on my channel, and I'm going to give it a 9.2. Honestly, I think it's there, 9.2. I mean, there's likely never going to be a 10 I don't believe in anything being perfect, and even masterpieces aren't perfect, but that's not the point. I'm not going to go into that thought process, that because it's a waste of time. Suffice it to say, there's nothing that is perfect, but in that sense, this album is perfect in its own right. Definitely a pickup, definitely a listen. If you like the Beatles, if you like Baroque pop, you may have already heard this. Get into the Moody Blues. Just get into them. I mean, they're awesome. This is the best place to start, just because it is pretty much their first album. I started with Children's Children, which honestly probably is my favorite. That album is just awesome, start to finish. Just cool moment after cool moment. But this has Nights in White Satin. It has Tuesday Afternoon. It has Peak Hour. That doesn't. So, yeah, definitely a 9.2 here. Days of Future Past by the Moody Blues and the London Festival Orchestra. Great album, guys. Thanks for watching. Once again, this is Mike from Big Fat Ghost Vinyl. Thanks for watching, and hope you all are having a great day. Appreciate you all, and keep the peace.